Psalms chapter number 66. Psalms chapter number 66, verse number 5. I'm going to read today from the Message paraphrase, and if you prefer the King James, well, just follow along with me. But I love how the Message reads in Psalms chapter number 66. Psalm 66 and verse number 5. It says, "Take a good look at God's wonders. They'll take your breath away. He converted sea to dry land. Travelers crossed the river on foot. Now, isn't that cause for a song? Take a good look at God's wonders. They're going to take your breath away, and won't that provoke a song in your life?" And from this, I want to talk to you for just a few moments today on the subject, a great awakening. A great awakening. If you look at God's people throughout time and history, you are going to notice that although they are separated by time and language, geography, and culture, you're going to find that there are some common characteristics that they share. There's a connective tissue that binds the people of God together, specifically common traits. There are some ubiquitous things that are found present in all of God's people, dating back from the very beginning all the way up until now. For example, God's people are always known for being humble people. God's people possess humility. In addition to humility, God's people are grateful. They're grateful people. They have an attitude of thanks and of thanksgiving. You'll also see that God's people are both passionate and compassionate. And then you'll see that, of course, God's people have always been marked by generosity. They are a generous people, waiting and willing to resource whatever is in God's heart to do. But you're also going to discover, and this passage in Psalms references it, you're also going to discover that God's people have always possessed this sense of wonder. Wonder is something that has always had a place in the hearts and the lives of those who identify with the Creator, because there is something about an absence of wonder that makes it hard to authentically celebrate. That makes it really hard to be able to develop or to progress. And that is why time and time again, God is always trying to awaken wonder within us. He's always trying to disturb and to provoke and to bring out wonder on the inside of us. In fact, Albert Einstein, the great thinker, he made this statement: "He who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. His eyes are closed." I want you to go with me today on a journey. I want us to take a trip together down memory lane. And I want you to think back to the time where you can distinctly remember feeling that sense of awe in your life, that sense of wonder. Maybe for some of you that's a bit of a journey. We're going to have to go way back. But I want you to think back to when you can distinctly remember feeling a sense of wonder. For me, I immediately return to the many Christmas mornings throughout my childhood. You see, I was raised in the great state of Ohio by very traditional Midwestern parents. And that meant there was no buying presents and wrapping them and putting them out under the tree weeks and weeks before Christmas. Now that seems to be a more common custom in this day and time, but not in the Bentley house. No, no, no. There was no putting presents out weeks before Christmas. There was no, okay, we can open up 5 presents 3 days before Christmas, 8 presents Christmas Eve, and then the rest on Christmas Day. No, my mom would wait until Christmas Eve, until my sister and I had gone to bed. She would wait until then to go and to wrap the bounty of presents that they had purchased for us. And then she would put them out under the tree the night of Christmas Eve after we're already asleep. Now, this continued all the way until I was a teenager, even after I had come to the awareness that Saint Nick, dear Saint Nick, had gone on to be with Jesus and actually was not going to be arriving that night. We still stuck to the playbook, and she would wait until we were asleep Christmas Eve and then would put out all of the presents so that whether I was 5 or 8, 14 or 18, when I came out of my room on Christmas morning, early in the morning, and I would make my way into the living room, I would behold the twinkling lights on the tree, the candles burning, and all of the presents. There's just something magical about Christmas, and I can remember just feeling a sense of awe and wonder year after year after year when I would look at that beautiful display. I can remember the first time, or the first few times, really every time that I would visit a professional baseball game. I was raised back in the day of the old school baseball stadiums, before they became as aesthetically beautiful and architecturally significant as they are now. They were just big concrete bowls. I grew up going to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. Pastor's got a model in his office of the old Busch Stadium in St. Louis. But they were all basically the same. You would go into it and work your way through a labyrinth of concrete until you would walk out the tunnel to make your way to your seat. And as you would step out into the tunnel, and I remember it vividly. You see, at one time in my life, I was just consumed with a love for baseball. Started playing it when I was 5, played it up into college. At one time had a dream, like every red-blooded American boy in the Midwest, to play professional baseball. Would walk out of that tunnel and would step out where the sky would seem to be so blue, and the green grass. It was a green that you don't see anywhere else. So green, and it was contrasted against just that dark brown dirt of the infield and the brilliant white chalk lines that ran down the first base side and the third base side, and all of the seats, and people selling popcorn and beer and hot dogs, and people yelling, just all of it, just an amazing sense of wonder. When I moved to Seattle, I mentioned that I planted a church there. When I moved to Seattle for the first time and was living there those first few weeks, months, even the first couple of years, I was always overwhelmed with the sight of Mount Rainier. When I would drive down Highway 167, you could see Mount Rainier, its jagged peak, its jagged glacier-covered peak, shimmering in the distance like this rough-hewn opal on a pillow of sapphire. On a clear day when it was actually not raining, which is pretty rare in Seattle, it just loomed over you larger than life, over 14,000 feet above sea level. Absolutely breathtaking. And it wouldn't matter what I was doing or who I was with, I would have this conscious thought, I cannot believe that I get to see this every day. It was just awe-inspiring. It was wondrous. And I would comment to myself or to others that were with me, look at that. Is that not absolutely incredible? Have any of you ever been to New York City before? Well, if you're from a small town from the Midwest like I was, just a little town in southeastern Ohio, the first time that you visit New York City, it's very awe-inspiring. You feel that sense of wonder there in Manhattan, the tall buildings, the density of all of it, and the lights and the signage and the traffic and the honking. It leaves an impression. In fact, you could visit time and time again, and I'm not sure that you'll ever lose that sense of wonder. Wonder is one of the greatest motivators in our life. In fact, this is the reason that God is trying to provoke this sense of wonder in us. Why, as his people, we should be marked by wonder. It's one of the greatest motivators because wonder is the portal to advancement and the catalyst for change. It is wonder that inspires the caged bird to sing. It is wonder that provokes a scientist and an inventor to push past thousands of failures to finally arrive at their breakthrough. It is wonder that brought men to the moon. It was wonder that took machines to the furthest corners of our galaxy. And it was wonder that led explorers to the deepest places in the sea. The philosopher Socrates said that wisdom begins in wonder, and then his successor Plato said that philosophy begins in wonder. Not only is wonder a marvelous motivator, but it is one of the greatest rewards. It's rewarding to possess wonder because it cracks open a door in our hearts. And I don't think that there's something that exists that illustrates this better than the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. In fact, I can remember being in kindergarten, 5 years old, at Reno Elementary, when I was led out of my classroom down to the old gymnasium, told to sit cross-legged on the floor when they wheeled out an old reel-to-reel projector and put up onto the screen the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I can remember how I felt as though it was yesterday. I remember how I felt when Charlie steps into the room where there was a chocolate river, where bushes and trees were producing candy, and it was all edible. And my eyes were as big as Charlie's. And I just thought, can you imagine, does such a place exist? Is there a place with a chocolate river and with Oompa Loompas that write such awesome songs? And so even now, I have such nostalgia and such profound memories of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that even now I watch that movie with my own two boys, my 13-year-old and my 9-year-old. Now, I'm not watching the remake with Johnny Depp. It doesn't even come close to being as good as the original. Come on, somebody. We watched the original, and when Charlie sees that unforgettable sight, Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, he starts singing, "Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do, do it. You want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There's no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be." He's singing about something even beyond imagination. He's singing about wonder. And it's for this reason that God has always used wonder and provoked wonder in his people to accomplish his purposes and to fulfill his dreams on the earth. when he wanted to take Abraham's life to the next level, he shows up to common, ordinary Abraham who's living in a tent, stuck in a rut, and he says, Abraham, come here, step outside with me, take my hand, and let's go look at something together. And he leads him out, and he says, Abraham, I want you to look beyond your everyday routine. I want you to look beyond your problems and your issues. I want you to have a change of scenery for a moment and take a look at all of these stars. Take a look at the stars. The greatest planetarium that's ever existed. Take a look at all of the stars, Abraham. And now take a look at all of the sands on the seashore. And that, Abraham, is what I'm wanting to do in you and through you. It was wonder that brought Abraham to the point that he said, yeah, whatever, I'm all in. And then the Lord never changes his strategy, because when God enters into human history in the form of a man named Jesus, Jesus does the same thing with his disciples. He's got these men that are just encumbered about with all of the affairs of life, weighed down, burdened down with stress and different things. Jesus one day says, guys, you've got to reawaken the wonder on the inside of you. Come with me. And he brings them out, and he says, I want you to look. I want you to lift up your eyes, and I want you to look upon the fields, for they're white to harvest. Look at what we are doing together. Check it out, guys. That's why you're here. That's why you're with me. And there are other places where what Jesus did was so remarkable. We see it in Luke 5:26. It's recorded that everyone was gripped with great wonder and awe, and they praised God, exclaiming, we have seen amazing things today. That was how Jesus worked. That was how he operated. He provoked wonder in his people. And in each and every one of these cases, we can define wonder simply as an awareness that what is isn't everything that is. Can I just say today to many of you that have been around here for the last 12 years, we're celebrating Pastor Jason and Melissa today and their contribution to this house, and rightfully so. Look at how you've progressed and grown under their leadership and how you're flourishing. But many of you have been around a good part of this journey. Some of you predate it. Others of you have recently come along. But look at what the Lord has done. Look at this room. Look at all the faces. Look at this building. Look at what you'll be moving into in just a few weeks. Look at what the Lord has done. But I want you to realize that what is, all that what is, isn't everything that is. God has more. And the future is bright. And there's amazing things that are still yet to come. But I've got to warn you, life conspires against wonder. Life conspires against wonder. There's something about life that is working to take that wonder out of you and replace it with cynicism and with bitterness. I would imagine that as we took a trip down memory lane together to that point in time in our life when we first experienced wonder, probably the majority of us went all the way back to our childhood. We went back to a time of innocence, a time long before we had ever experienced hurt, a time long before we had ever experienced betrayal or abandonment. It was a time of innocence. It was a time of purity. And we could feel wonder then, but from the moment the very first person turned their back on us or did us wrong, from the very first time that our hearts were broken, from the very first time that somebody did the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do, from the time that we experienced our first breakup, from the time that we experienced our expectations being shattered, from that moment, life has been conspiring against wonder. It has been working to crush and to snuff out that sense of awe on the inside of us. And we, as the people of God, we have got to fight and we have got to push back against that feeling of cynicism and that feeling of bitterness. We've got to do whatever it takes to make sure that we keep the wonder on the inside of us, that when we think about God, when we think about His people, when we think about His house, instead of an attitude of I've been there and done that, and wow, you really need to impress me, or wow, you need to pull a rabbit out of a hat, we need to get back to that place where we're like, wow, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. The reason that we lose wonder is because life conspires against it. It's trying to get us to replace wonder with cynicism and with bitterness, but also it's because of another reality, that overexposure leads to underappreciation. And what I mean by that is you can be around something for so long that what is amazing and valuable can become common and ordinary. I told you that when I moved to Seattle, for the first couple of years, I was spellbound by Mount Rainier. But there came a time when I had become so exposed to it that it lost that with me. And I would be driving down that same Highway 167 looking at that same view. But instead now of saying, wow, I can't believe I get to see this, I was on my phone. And don't judge me, and certainly please don't send this to my wife, but I was on my phone flipping through Facebook and checking out the most recent posts on Instagram, and there would be people in the car with me saying, this is amazing, look at that, unbelievable. And I would say, yeah, awesome, isn't it? The very thing that at one time took my breath away now could hardly pull my nose out of my cellular device. Overexposure leads to underappreciation. So thank you today for taking the time to honor your history and to honor your pastors and to honor the things that God has put in your life that are amazing, that are valuable. Honor says it does not matter how familiar I am with it. It doesn't matter how much I've been exposed to it. I'm going to declare it as valuable and noteworthy in my life. But here's something else that you need to know. Wonder is as threatening and disruptive as it is inspiring. In Genesis chapter number 19, we read the story of God deciding that He was going to do something pretty unique and pretty powerful when it came to Lot and his family and the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. God shows up and says, hey, Lot, I want you to come with me. I'm getting ready to do something new. It's pretty unique. It's pretty crazy. And I want you to have a front row seat with me, but you got to come with me. And so they leave out together, and God does something new, very intense. I mean, we're talking fireballs and pyrotechnics and fire and brimstone and all of that. Very, very intense, but very wondrous still the same. And it was just a matter of which side of the aisle you were viewing it. It was a matter of perspective concerning if it was fearsome or if it was wondrous, because where you sit determines what you see, and what you see determines what you do. Something wondrous started happening. But we've got to, as a church and as the people of God, we've got to experience a great awakening in our life. And I'm not talking about God starting to do something, because God is already doing something. He is moving. The pandemic did not stop Him. It did not hinder Him. It did not slow Him down. The Lord is at work. People are being saved. People are being baptized in the Holy Spirit. People are being baptized. Miracles are still taking place. Here locally, all around our nation, all around the globe, God is at work. I'm not talking about we need God to awaken and to start to act. I'm talking about there needs to be a great awakening of wonder on the inside of us, where we push past the cynicism, where we push past the hurts and the calluses of life, where we push past the bitterness, where we push past the familiarity with the things of God, and we get to a point where we feel wonder again regarding who God is and what God does. Do you remember what it was like to first be exposed to the grace of God? Do you remember what it was like that first day after you were saved? Do you remember that first time that you encountered the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit? Do you remember how in wonder you were and how awe-inspiring all of it was? We've got to get back to that. There has got to be an awakening of wonder in our lives. The greatest challenge, I think, for any of us as believers is to keep wonder wide awake in us. To keep wonder wide awake in us. Because listen, if wonder dies in you, you will kill it in others. When God tried to take his people into the promised land, he used 12 men to kind of spy it out. His intention was for those 12 men to awaken wonder in the people, to build their faith so that they could move forward with confidence. But we see that only 2 of them came back with that sense of wonder. The grapes are the size of basketballs. It takes 2 men to carry a bunch of grapes. This place is amazing. God's given it to us. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And there were 10 who said, there's giants and we're like grasshoppers. There was no sense of wonder. And as a result, 10 leaders kept 2 million people out of the promised land. If we're going to keep wonder, wide awake in us, we got to look back again to that story in Genesis 19. Because God is moving. He's taken Lot and his family with him. He's saying, come on, I'm doing great and wondrous things. Let's go. And instead of the whole family, Lot and his wife and everybody looking at the fireworks display saying, wow, God, you're so amazing. Wow, God, we're so thankful for second chances. Wow, God, we can't wait to step into what you have for us tomorrow. The Bible says that Lot's wife looked back. She looked back. And as a result, she turned, and we all know the story, she turned into a pillar of salt, meaning that because she did not keep wonder stirred up in her, and because she kept looking back, she calcified and she hardened. And this is what we've got to be careful of as the people of God, looking back all of the time instead of moving into the new where God is moving. Longing for yesterday, that's going to hold us back and it's going to freeze our progress. That's what it means. We will turn into a pillar of salt, meaning we will harden, we will calcify, we won't keep up with what God is doing, and we'll just stay. We won't go anywhere. And, the Lord started speaking to me about this, and I've been so guilty of this. For the last 2 years, you know what we've been doing through this whole COVID season is we have been looking back to life pre-COVID. That's like what we all do. It's what we all talk about. It's, do you remember when we could go here and do this? Do you remember when we didn't need a mask? Do you remember when we weren't at 50% in church pre-COVID? Do you remember? And we're just looking back. And here's what I believe. Here's what the Holy Spirit is speaking to me in this day and time, in this hour with our church and all of it. Looking back is killing wonder on the inside of me concerning what God is doing right now. And I don't want to calcify and harden and freeze up like Lot's wife did and not be able to move forward. I want to go with him wherever he's leading, wherever he's taking us. And do you know that wise Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived, in Ecclesiastes 7 and verse number 10, it's not going to be on the screen. I added it this morning. But Solomon says this: don't long for the good old days, because this is not wise. Stop looking back. Let's keep our focus on the wondrous things that he is doing. And let's just believe that he's going to lead us and guide us, and that there is more. Psalms 40 and verse number 5 says this: O Lord my God, you have performed many wonders for us. Your plans for us are too numerous to list. You have no equal. If I tried to recite all of your wonderful deeds, I would never come to the end of them. Church, there's got to be a great awakening. I pray here today that there's a great awakening of wonder in your heart and your life, just like you had at the very beginning. Do whatever it takes to keep the wonder alive, because in closing, R.C. Sproul, he made this statement: people in awe never complain that church is boring. I love that. People in awe never complain that church is boring. Will you stand with me today? We're going to go back into worship. We're going to sing a song, and our altar team is coming right now. And as we sing, we want to give you the opportunity, if you want or if you need prayer today, to step out from where you are and come down and let our team pray with you. Our service is not ending quite just yet. We want to pray with you, and we want to give you a chance today to awaken the wonder again. Maybe all of the cares and the burdens of life has just pressed down and has squeezed out that wonder on the inside of you. Maybe you realize that the events of the last couple of years and the news and the stresses and the pressures have just left you just feeling so blind, so dead on the inside. Awaken the wonder today. Awaken the wonder. Look at what God's done in your life. Look at what he's doing right now. And let's get back to a place where we stand before him in awe and say, I cannot believe that you're my God. I can't believe that you're doing this for me and my family. I can't believe that this is all available for me. I can't believe that I get to be a part of something so glorious. What a privilege. Come on, that's it. Lift your hands with us all over this place. Sing. Come on, church. Let's sing together, and let's press in right now. Let's awaken the wonder on the inside of us today. I want to be.
Thank you for being with us today and joining in with our broadcast. I pray that the worship and the message was exactly what you needed to hear and feel. I pray that you felt the presence of the Lord right where you are. If you took the step today to make Jesus the Lord over your life, then let us know by emailing us at siwcenter@gmail.com. We would love to connect and to celebrate with you on this great decision that you've made. And the next step for you then would be to find a digital community group. Also then to go through our Next Steps program here to learn more about SIWC and to become a member here. More information on all of this can be found on our website at siwcenter.org. If throughout the broadcast or throughout your week you have a prayer request or a circumstance or a situation that you would need help in praying about, feel free to visit our website to submit that confidentially. I want to thank you all for your continued generosity and giving as unto the Lord. We do this in accordance to Proverbs chapter 3 in verses 9 and 10. If you would like to give, you can do so online by going to our website. As always, be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels so that we can stay connected. And then let's continue to be a church on purpose.